Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'll be building a custom keyboard. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time now. I'm very excited to finally be doing it. On the table, I have all the pieces I need to put together a custom keyboard, and let's go through them. Here I have the PCB, which are the brains of the keyboard. This is the DZ65 RGB V3 PCB. This is the case of the keyboard. This is a Tofu 65E white case. The layout of my keyboard is going to be 65%. I also have some foam. For the plate, I have a polycarbonate plate. As far as switches go, I went with tactile switches. The Glorious Panda switches are excellent. For lube on the switches, I'm using Krytox 205 and 105. The 105 will be used for the springs only, whereas the 205 will be used for the switches and also the stabilizers. Here I also have a coiled aviator cable. And lastly, I have these really nice white and blue keycaps. The inspiration behind this keyboard was Jett from Valorant, which is my favorite agent in the game. And so I'm hoping to build a keyboard that kind of embodies her and also embodies her color profile. Everything I have out on this table will be listed in the description below, so check that out if you're interested in all these pieces. Lastly, drop a comment below on what your favorite types of switches are. I'm personally in tactile gang, so let me know if you like tactile, linear, or clicky switches. The first step I'll be doing in building my keyboard is lubing the mechanical switches. Lubing is a process that involves taking apart the switch, applying lube to the various parts of the switch, and then putting the switch back together. The reason we lube the switches is to help smoothen all the parts that are moving when you click the switches. And this leads to a better feel when you click down on the switch and also a better sound. One lesson that I learned during my process for researching all these parts and for this video is that a big part of the mechanical keyboard building hobby is that everything is very subjective. One person might like linear switches, or another person might like tactile switches. And one person isn't necessarily right and another person isn't necessarily wrong. As far as switches go and lubing them, a lot of people have different opinions on them, how much lube you should apply to them, and how you should apply it, and where you should apply it, and the techniques behind them. And I had a lot of problems looking through everything, and it felt very overwhelming. But the takeaway here is that what works for you might not be what works for somebody else, and vice versa. And to do what makes you happy and to do what makes you feel good. So I'll be trying various different lubing methods and seeing what works and sounds best for me. And that might not be what other people enjoy, and that's okay. So this keyboard is like an expression of yourself, and I recommend to do what you like the most. To help with opening the switches, we have a mechanical switch opener, which is this funny little briefcase. Shout out to my friend An for lending this to me. Opening the mechanical switch opener, we have this little slot where we put our switch in. So let's line up our switch into the mechanical switch opener, and then we'll press down. And this opens the switch and allows you to take it apart and see all the goodness that's inside. We have the bottom casing, the stem, the spring, and the top casing. And now we just got to repeat this process 64 more times. I've opened quite a few switches so far, and let's do some editing magic to speed up this process. I have finished opening all the switches. We have the bottom casings, stems, springs, and top casings. I'm going to be taking my Krytox 105, which is an oil-based lube, and get about 10 drops in the plastic bag. 1, 2, 7, 10. Then I'm going to add all my springs into the plastic bag. I'm going to close up the Ziploc bag and leave a little bit of air in there. And we're just going to shake it for about 30 seconds. Once we're done shaking, we're going to massage to make sure all the springs have an even coating of oil. And that's pretty much it. We've just bag lubed 65 springs in about 2 minutes. The next part of the lubing process involves applying lube to the stem and the bottom casing. Some people like applying lube to both the bottom casing and the stem for maximal smoothness, and some people like to put lube only onto the stem itself to speed up the lubing process, as it can be pretty labor intensive. I'm going to be trying both. I'm going to be applying lube to the bottom casing and also the stem for one switch and only the stem for another switch, and then compare the two to see what I like better. Again, the key here is to do what you like best. One person might prefer one way while another person might prefer the other way. Let's get started. To lube the stem, I'm going to take my brush with a little bit of lube, apply half of it to one side, half of it to the other side, and then just brush to make an even coating on all sides. Once I have an even coating, I'm going to take the residual lube in my brush and brush all around the inner part of the stem and including the tip. And that's how you lube a stem. To lube the bottom casing, I'm going to take my brush with a little dollop of lube, apply it to the sides, and then just lightly brush up and down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go around 1, 2, 3. And that's how you lube the bottom casing. Now that we have all our parts nicely lubed up, we can put the mechanical switch back together. We're going to take our spring, put that into the bottom casing. We're going to take the stem and line that up nicely, put it back, and then we're going to take the top casing, line it up with the switch, and then we're going to click it all together. And that's how you reassemble a mechanical switch. Here we have 3 switches. On the right, we have lubed the spring, the stem, and the bottom casing. In the middle, it's only the spring and the stem. And on the left, we haven't lubed it at all. Let's do a quick sound test. To me, the ones on the middle and the right feel and sound about the same. Definitely there's a difference between lubed and unlubed though. I think I'll be going with just lubing only the stems and the springs to save a bit of time. I finished lubing a couple of switches, but I still have many more to go. But for the time being, I'll be taking a break and going to Happy Lemon, who by the way should definitely sponsor me. Catch you guys at Happy Lemon. I'm joined by An and Virginia, my friends, and we were walking to Happy Lemon. So quick question, what kind of keyboards do you guys like?
I'm a mechanical keyboard guy. Got the Holy Panda tactile switches.
And Virginia?
I'm an ergonomic keyboard gal. Like, they're ugly as fuck, but really great for when you do a lot of work on the computer and just spend all day responding to emails.
Fair.
What's the difference?
Fair. Ergonomics are important. Catch you guys at Happy Lemon. Made it back from the quick Happy Lemon run. I have my favorite roasted oolong tea with salted cheese, and I'm energized to lube the rest of these switches. Now let's do some editing magic and get this all done fast. So we finally finished lubing all the switches, but we're not done yet. We still have to lube the stabilizers. Here are all the parts of a stabilizer. We have the stem, which goes into the housing, and the wire that connects everything together. To lube a stabilizer, you'll need to use lube and lube the inside of the housing, and then the edges of the wire. I'll be using the Krytox 205 to do this, and I'll finish this offline. This is what an assembled stabilizer looks like. Honestly, in the process of lubing and assembling the stabilizer, I was pretty confused, so I'll link some helpful resources in the description to help you guys out. I finished installing all the stabilizers onto the PCB. It was really painful for me because I had no idea how to do it, but watched a few tutorials and finally got it. I had screw-in stabilizers, so I had to screw in the stabilizers to secure them. I have 4 of them here, and they're all lubed and ready to go. And now it's time for the fun part, putting all the switches on the PCB. I've placed my PCB foam and polycarbonate plate on top of my PCB. and I'm going to install the mechanical switches now. To install the switches, you're going to line up the pins on the back of the switch and then place them into the PCB and snap it shut. Here I have installed the switch for the spacebar, and I'm going to repeat this for every single key. Let's do some editing magic. Now we have finished putting all the switches onto the PCB, and this is what it looks like. I screwed in the PCB onto the case, and this is what it looks like. Now on to the fun part. We're going to be putting together the keycaps onto the PCB, and this will be the final step. I just finished putting the keycaps onto the keyboard, and this is what it looks like. I'm really happy with how the keyboard turned out. I think the color profile is perfect. I really like the sound of the keyboard. And don't worry, I'll be doing a full sound test at the end of this video, so hang tight for that. Now, before I end the video, I just want to do a couple of reflections. Overall, this keyboard building process was pretty lengthy. Just assembling the keyboard took me about 8 hours with breaks. And this is not to mention all the time and effort I put into researching each part of the keyboard in order to understand it and also purchase parts for my keyboard. I think the barrier of entry to keyboard making is pretty high due to that. And it takes time to really understand each and every part of the keyboard. Now, would I do this again? Probably not anytime soon. I'm very happy with how this one turned out, and I don't have much time to build more keyboards. So I think I'll be sticking with this for now. Now, everything that I've talked about will be in the description below. You can look in the description for all the parts I've used and also some guides I found pretty helpful. So I hope that this video was a good resource into what it looks like for a beginner to build a keyboard. Drop a comment below to let me know what you thought of this and what you'd like to see next. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.